Hi everyone, dear posthumans. I'm very excited to have our guest, Alexandra Lukashevich Alcaraz. Alexandra is actually an expert in the topic of cyborgs, and she's already been at NYU twice in the past, enlightening us about the topic of non-human personhood. So first of all, Alexandra, welcome back. It's so good to have you back here.
Welcome, Francesca. It is also my pleasure to be here with you, and I'm happy to have possibility to share my reflections to the broader community of post-human scholars.
Thank you so much. So with Alexandra, we are going to talk about two topics. The first one is post-human identity and non-human personhood, and the second one is post-human agency. Now, a little more about Alexandra. Alexandra Lukashevich Alcaraz is doctor in philosophy, specialized in the fields of philosophical aesthetics and theory of culture and art. She presents an interdisciplinary approach, combining elements of aesthetics and social reflection. She received various prizes and grants, among others, research grants from the European Commission and a fellowship from the Kosciuszko Foundation, where she started her book project. We're going to talk about it more now. The topic was cyborg persons, explained in terms of the metaphysics of culture. It was printed as an habilitation thesis. This is the book. We're going to talk again about this book today, Cyborg Persons or Selves, by the Academy of Art of Szczecin in Poland in 2019. Now, it is published in open access, so you can download it for free on academia.edu, which is a great news. And also, I'm also very excited to say that Alexandra is actually currently preparing the revised version of this book for Palgrave Macmillan. So again, you can start reading it, and then you will be able to read the revised version soon, published by Palgrave. So again, Alexandra, thank you so much for being here today. Also, Alexandra is going to be one of our speakers for the New York Posthuman Summit for the fall season 2019. So we're also very excited to listen to your talk tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Francesca. I really appreciate all your work in the post-human field, animating post and transhumans in this new endeavor. So I'm really happy to be part of this.
Thank you so much. So, Alexandra, you've been working for some years now on the topic of cyborg persons. Again, this is the book of Alexandra. You can all find it online, open access on academia.edu under Alexandra page. Can you tell us a little more about what and who is, or maybe who is, or what is a cyborg person or selves?
Yes, this is the important question. Especially because I'm not using the notion of cyborg as such. I'm talking about cyborg person or self. And this is not just a slight shift, but it's quite important. I don't want to oppose very strongly humans to cyborgs, but I prefer to talking about persons that can be embodied in different ways. They can be embodied in Homo sapiens species. They can be embodied in technologically enhanced bodies, or maybe also in some other ways, because a part of cyborg persons and human persons, there might be possible also other kinds of persons embodied in different ways. And embodiment matters. It matters for the modes of our perception, cognition, and communication modes that are the essential functions by which we play and act in societies and communities. The choice of talking about cyborg persons, not cyborgs as such, was first of all in order not to create the kind of oppositions, we and us, but to think about kind of continuity. Continuity does not mean that we are all the same. This means that there are some levels on which we are similar and on which we can trace similarities, but there are also essential differences. I apply here the notion of Joseph Margolis, a contemporary pragmatist philosopher who is talking about human persons. And he talks about human persons as a hybrid from the mere beginning, because they emerge from in the course of nature culture evolution due to invention of language and everything that it entails, that is culture, society, or this intentional sphere as such. So then his approach is not Darwinian, it is rather post-Darwinian, because it is not that evolution proceeds just on biological level, but is hybrid, culturally informed, technologically informed from the mere beginning. But another disruption appears with the input of implants into our bodies. But it is also important to think about what kind of implants we are talking about. Because yes, we can have artificial teeth, artificial breasts, or some, metal bones in our legs, and this does not change essentially the way we function in society as human persons. So the change that appears is with the insertion of implants that have software or that are kind of electronic devices, usually online, that are enhancing our perception, our cognitive possibilities, or our communication modes, for example, directing us to direct neural communication, which is one of the subjects of investigation of, for example, Kevin Warwick. So this is the idea that the cyborg persons emerge evolutionary from human persons in the course of hybrid evolution.
Fantastic. So there are many people who claim on one side to be the first cyborg or the real cyborg. How do you define a cyborg? For instance, someone having a pacemaker is, let's say, theoretically cyborg. But would you define a person with a pacemaker a cyborg, or do you need to go beyond the limits, historical limits of the human, to kind of refer to yourself as a cyborg? What is your definition of a cyborg?
My definition of a cyborg person, it is the person that is embodied in a cyborg body, I would say. So then, what does it mean? This means that a pacemaker does not change us essentially. It is just supplementing some lacking function in our bodies. So medical interventions or aesthetical intervention, I don't consider here. Of course, we may say in a visionary way, after Donna Haraway, we have always been cyborgs, but from my point of view, it doesn't bring us further on. It is not really productive. It is visionary, it is inspiring, but not theoretically productive. It is like turning to McLuhan, that we can talk about the fork as a media, but okay, but how far it can lead us, So then I'm thinking about these implants that are, for example, allowing to hear infrared or ultraviolet, or to receive messages online directly to our brain, because it is broadening our perception, but also influencing the way how we understand ourselves and ourselves in relation to the world and the world as such. For example, as Neil Harbison is talking about it, when he is in the room where there is a cat and a few people, and they appears near to ultra-red radiation, no human is paying any attention, but he and cat are staring at it because it is an uncommon light. And this situation brings him to feel much more connection with a cat in this specific situation than with people. So then we are creating kind of interspecies relations that we have not noticed or not have before. So yes, we are trespassing this what was historically understood as human. Yeah, although it is not exactly, this transhuman drive to live super long, to be super intelligent, but it is enhancing our capabilities.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. Now, I would like to take a step back and focus on an interesting definition that you have in your book, in which on one side you define kind of a strong cyborgian identity, and the other one you kind of a weak cyborgian approach. And you bring two examples. One is Kevin Warwick, and the other one is Neil Harbison and Mon Ribas. Now, if you don't mind telling us, first of all, who are these people? Because people who are in our field know their work, but maybe some people who are not in our field but are fascinated by this topic want to hear more about it. So if you don't mind, first of all, telling us who is Kevin Warwick, who is Neil Harbison and Mon Ribas. And then, again, it's an original definition that you kind of, it's okay, I know that it's a liquid separation, but you make a point about kind of dividing the two experiences. Why is that? And again, if you can tell us about what are these two experiences and why, again, we have kind of a weak approach and a strong approach.
Okay, so Kevin Warwick is a professor based in UK, exploring cybernetic issues and especially direct neural communication with the use of implants. And he's not the first one, but nearly the first one person in the world that has inserted himself an RFID implant. The first one is Eduardo Katz, who did it 1 year before, in 2007. And RFID of Eduardo Katz is still there, although it is very, very simple one, you can say. It has just some information that you can read with a scanner. Kevin Warwick implanted the first implant 1 year later, but his implants are rather for experimental reasons. So, so he puts them into his hand, or also into his wife's hand, in order to directly communicate between neural systems. But it is not for lifetime. So there does not appear any kind of assimilation of this kind of communication into normal everyday life, into one's identity, into the way one functions in the society. It shows us possibilities, but there is no kind of synergy between the implant and his body for a longer time. And Neil Harbison is a young man, artist and cyborg artist, cyborg activist, originally from Catalonia, but with a British passport and based in New York. So so kind of very nomadic person. Together with Mon Ribas, his partner in cyborg activities, and he's often referred to as the first officially recognized cyborg, because of this, that he has implanted himself, of course with the help of doctors, not manually himself, the antenna into his brain. The antenna that is called cyborg, that scans colors in his environment and transforms it into the sound that he hears in the bone conduction. He was born with achromatopsia, so in a way he's supplementing something that he cannot achieve normally, some sensory data that he cannot access normally. But from the other point of view, it is not natural sensual data. First of all, he doesn't see colors, he hears colors. And then he has a broader array of the colors that he can perceive, as, for example, this ultraviolet or infrared and emails. And why I'm talking about the weak status of, for example, Warwick or also Katz, and strong status of Harbison and Mon Ribas. By the way, Mon Ribas, she has got also implants, allowing her, one implant allowing her to feel all the earthquakes over 1.0 in Richter scale, and the other allowing her to feel the movements of moon, because she also wants to have intergalactical perception. Her senses don't have the form of external organs. So there are senses, but there is no external added organ, what is the case of Neil Harbison. but both of them, they have experienced kind of synergy between their body, their normally sensory motor perception, kinesthetic perception, self-identity, and the implants. For example, when Harbison was talking that he had a cyborg installed for the first time, he couldn't differentiate that easily between colors. You know, it was rather kind of noise that he was receiving, and he had to learn how to differentiate them. We can refer it to like the babies when they start perceiving the world, but first it is upside down and they don't know what is where, and they have to learn about the word, learn how to read the word. So he had also learned how to read the sounds he was hearing. But it's not only this. It is also the point that it influences the way he behaves in the everyday life. These relations with other species that he feels with bees, for example, sensing ultraviolet, and cats sensing close to infrared. But also, for example, that although his antenna does not have tactile sense, when it's out of center, he feels out of balance, for example, and he dreams in colors, and when he hears sounds, he also refers some colors to this. So there became a kind of synergy that influenced his body schema, his sensory perception body schema, and his body image, and he is defining himself as a cyborg. So this is the reason that I'm talking about like a weak cyborg status of Katz or Warwick, and a strong cyber status of Harbison and Ribas.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. A couple of notes for the people who are listening to us. If you want to know more about their work, Kevin Warwick, you can definitely find his stuff online. There is also a book that he wrote, Cyborg. Again, very influential and very inspiring thinker. I had the honor to work with him in 2010, and also for Moon Ribas and for Neil Harbison. Again, they are very inspiring as well, and they have a cyborg foundation, and they work with legal rights about being a cyborg, being recognized as a cyborg, and they have this is an online foundation, but they also have events in New York and also in Catalonia, in Barcelona. So definitely both all these people are very interesting. You can look more of their work on books or also online activities. Now, I have one more question, Alexandra, before we move on to our next interview. And first of all, when we're talking about, we focus a lot on cyborgs. But again, your work goes beyond the cyborg. You talk about non-human personhood. Now, does this include non-human animals, for instance? And the second question is, what does it mean on the legal level? Once you have the recognition of personhood to cyborgs, to non-human animals, what does it mean for the law, for instance? What kind of rights are at play here?
These are very important questions. Thank you for them. Yes, I'm also referring to animals when I'm talking about the possibility of recognition of personhood. Although I'm not diving into this, I'm just opening the perspective that there are possibility of recognition of different kinds of persons. And this is already taking place. Already dolphins in India are recognized to be persons. Already orangutan are recognized in South America. Amazonia forest as such is recognized also as non-human persons. So there are like different ways of embodiment that are also allowed to be recognized in some circumstances to be treated as a legal persons, because yes, we are talking about legal persons, and this is very important, and it is also the reason that I tackled the problem of cyborg persons, because. If we are, I don't want to refer to human nature and to divine descendants or whatever. I'm thinking rather about our societies, communities, sense of our existence, and law. Law, what means our responsibilities and rights. And if we don't have different persons recognized as such, they will not have neither rights nor responsibilities. they will be rather treated as objects and not as agents with whom we can interact. Of course, if we take on board the notion of assemblages, what we will do later on, and network theory and so forth, there are interrelations. But I'm also talking about the possibility of recognizing that somebody is responsible and have rights. And how to change the law, how to change and transform the sense of our being. This is still, of course, the open question. But with the notion of person, I want to open the door for other possible embodiments of persons that can be also responsible with rights, treated in the same way as we humans are.
Fantastic. So, of course, you can see there is much more that we need to talk with Alexandra, and we are, because we're going to go into a second interview with Alexandra. So in this interview, we've been talking about a cyborg person ourselves, which is, again, the book that I highly recommend, very inspiring, very informative. Also, great news, you can actually download it for free online because it's published as an open access, something that I completely support, very important for knowledge to be accessible and free, and that's great. You can find it on academia.edu, and also, again, it's also very exciting to hear that Alexandra is actually currently working on the revised edition for Palgrave Macmillan. Also, if you want to be in touch with Alexandra, maybe if you want to have, like if you have a website or some platform, maybe academia.edu, how people can maybe ask you a question or connecting with you. Is there any best platform to do that? It's academia.
The best platform is academia. I also use, to say truth, quite a lot of Facebook, but in order to find me, you can write with no mistakes my name and 2 surnames, so this might be a challenge. So, but there I'm also maybe not, I'm active posting things, but I'm very active talking with people. This is very easy mean for me for the communication.
Thank you so much. Again, Alexandra Lukashevich Alcaraz, a doctor in philosophy. Again, thank you so much for coming here at NYU, actually for the 3rd time, talking about cyborg personal cyborg rights. And we're going to go on with the discussion with posthuman agency. Thank you so much, Alexandra.
Thank you, Frances.
Thank you.